Hey, so we're talking about time management and how what we, kind of all struggle with as people in general, but specifically we're referring to it with regards to the fitness industry. And we're just discussing about, before we had some technical difficulties, about my routine. And generally, like when I was working in the mornings, when I'd have to go into work around 5 a.m., or I'm sorry, when I had to go into work around 7 a.m., I would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, even though it was tough and I hated it and I didn't want to do it. But I knew I had to get it in the gym and I was getting off work way too late. So I got up in the morning, 5 a.m., packed my food into, like I was saying, an ISO bag, which is like a lunchbox that has compartments for your meals and everything. I'd take it to the gym. I'd work out and I have to be really time conscious because I didn't want to be late for work. And then I would work out for 45 minutes. I would shower, I would get dressed, and I would just run out the door and I'd go to work. And that's, it wasn't ideal, but I got used to it and I really kind of started to actually enjoy it. So when my workday changed, then I actually had to wake up 5 a.m. for work, had to go after. It kind of threw me off, but you know, any which way I had to get it in, I was going to because like you said before, it was a priority. So, and we kind of started lagging when you started speaking about how you were partitioning your time.
Yeah, so I was very similar a couple of years ago. I would teach actually power yoga classes at 5:30 in the morning. That was one of my part-time jobs. I had four part-time
Hmm.
jobs, and I was a full-time undergraduate student. I had to be full-time because I was on scholarship to afford my tuition. So I was taking 18 and a half credit hours and then, homework, studying, and then practicing 3 hours a day. It was like, it's as busy as anyone human could get. But I was the same way. I would wake up at 4:45 in the morning to get to the studio on time. And if during the day I had an extra hour, like whatever happened, a rehearsal gets canceled or I scheduled out my lunch break, I would take a half an hour run down to the gym and do some strength and conditioning, or I would go do some cardio. I was a lot like I knew that working out, it would improve my mood and it would make me better, even though it was spending more time, having to condition myself. I knew it was going to help me in the long run, and it definitely did. It's just making it a priority. And I was going to ask you, like, were there ever, I'm sure there were, but were there days where you felt like you got off to a late start? Something happened with the dog, or like something happened with your wife, she needed some extra help, like where you had to shorten your workout routine? And if that's the case, what did you prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, that does happen. I mean, honestly, sometimes it took me too long to get out of the house. Like for whatever reason, nothing might have even been happening, but I was slow that morning, and when you're trying to get as much sleep as you can, I mean, I had it down to the minute as much sleep as I could get. And sometimes I was just too groggy and too slow, and I had to cut down. So what I would do is I would just minimize my sets. So it's like let's say I'm working chest, right? Like I would instead of doing, five like five different exercises, you do four. If you did 3 sets, maybe you keep the five exercises, but you do like 2 sets of each, because I always wanted to keep a little cardio in. So I wanted to like leave some time for that. I mean, sometimes you just have to increase the intensity, lower everything and just increase the intensity. It's not ideal, but it's better than missing it because if you miss it, you kind of feel like you didn't accomplish like anything that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you? You ran into those things? I know you said you were messing with the dogs recently, so does that happen to you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have two older dogs. So one of them is 16, and one of them, she just turned 8. So, as you can imagine, as they get up there in age, sometimes accidents happen. It's
Hmm.
convenient. So when I'm running to get out the door and I've turned around, I'm like, crap. Like, I have to, turn around and
Yeah.
clean everything up. It adds an extra 10 minutes that I'm getting. It's the same thing, getting out of the house late. But I'll do the same thing. I'll kind of, when I get to the gym, I'll go, okay, like instead of doing 10 minutes of cardio, I have to cut it down to 5. But I'm the same way. Like I'll minimize the amount of sets that I'll do. So usually I'll do anywhere from 3 to 4 sets of an exercise. So I'll cut it down in half to 2. So that way I at least hit every single muscle group that I want to attack that day and feel accomplished in that sense. And I totally agree that it's better than just going, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, because I don't know if you feel this way, but then I feel pressure on myself because it's like, well, it's my own fault that I didn't get up early enough, XYZ, and I have to make up for that somehow. And if you add more pressure on the next day, you're less likely to want to go and do it, because then you're like, oh, I have to make up for the muscle group yesterday and do the muscle group that I have to train today.
Right. See, and I agree, but also like the feeling that I sometimes get is if I miss like 1 or 2 days of training that I was supposed to get in, then my thought process is sometimes I'll catch myself thinking this way, is that, oh, well, I've already missed 2 days, or like I've already missed a day. What's another day? Like, or what's another training session? Like, and then you just end up missing the whole week. And then you're like, I'll just start next week all over again, you know?
No, that's what's hard for me currently, readjusting back. Well, now with everything going on, I don't really have a crazy school commute schedule, but at the beginning of the semester and even last semester, I was struggling with getting a regular routine. So I'd miss a day of training. I'd go, okay, I'll do my day 3 tomorrow. And it's like, well, now it feels wrong. Like tomorrow should be day 4. So I've had to kind of discipline myself and going, okay, if you miss day 3, you miss day 3 and you just have to go on to day 4. Like, because if you keep telling your mind like, oh, I'll get to it later, you're absolutely right, where you'll just kind of spiral, and it gets easy to miss a week. It gets easy to start eating badly. Like those things will start affecting you in other areas, or you'll be less disciplined, or you'll be less organized throughout the rest of your day. And I don't know if it affects you that way, but if I miss that, then I'll go, oh, I don't have to practice 3 hours. I'll just practice for 2 hours, or I'll just practice for an hour. And it affects my discipline in every area of my life as well.
Yeah. I think it's a mental thing too. It's like it affects you mentally. So like, so when you start thinking that way, it like kind of like you start devolving, like your whole week starts devolving, and then it's hard to pick yourself back up. It's much easier like to keep the routine. If you can keep the routine, then you can keep it going, even if you just go through the motions. I mean, you never want to like go through the motions as far as training is concerned. But if the choice is between going or like in going through the motions or not going at all, it's always better just to get in there and get some movement, even for the mental side of it, because then at least the next day you can say, oh, well, yeah, I went yesterday, so I'm going today too, And I pulled up something online. It's like this article. I guess I could give a credit. It's Polar, I think is the website, but basically they run down through some like basic things that help people like keep going to the gym or find time to go to the gym. One thing is we already discussed was like embracing a commute. So like you've got to commute, like finding a way to train, whether it's on your lunch or before work or school, or after work or school, somewhere where you can squeeze it in. The other thing they mentioned is keeping your this number 2, keeping your workout clothes handy at all times. Do you have anything to say about that? Or
Well,
you look like you're nodding your head. That's why.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's also easy if you just wear workout clothes all the time.
The yoga pants thing again.
But I'm literally always like in some kind of like tank top and yoga pants, and I'm always wearing sneakers because first of all, I love being comfortable. I have to walk around with a cello on my back, and I have my, my lunch and all my meal prep in this hand, and then my books in this hand. So there's no way you're going to see me running around in heels on a campus at this point. So yeah, I love that. That's something I didn't even think of. Like, yeah, always keeping your workout clothes like in your car, or in your locker if you're at school, or like even at your desk at work. I know a professor that I studied with, he always had several changes of clothes at school, so that way if he had a break, like if a student canceled, he would go to the gym.
Yeah. I mean, that's great, because sometimes like you want to go to the gym, but you don't have the clothes to do it. I mean, apparently you don't have that problem, but but the rest of us, normal humans who wear regular clothes, We do. We do.
Sorry, Dad.
So, but yeah, so that, I mean, that's definitely important. So, the other one, it says, run your errands. I guess this would be like more of something when it says run, like literally run, like jogging to like different errands and stuff. That might not be a possibility for someone who's, living miles and miles and miles away from where they need to be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my boyfriend used to bike to work when it was close enough, obviously, like within reason. But I know a lot
Right.
of people that helps first of all reduce your carbon footprint, which is what we need. But second of all, yeah, it's a really good way to be efficient with working out. I think my brother does that in San Diego. Uh,
There you
he
go.
he bikes to work because he loves to work out. He trains jujitsu, but he's like, I need the cardio, so I'm just gonna bike to work.
Oh, that's cool. I used to do jujitsu too and wrestle and do all that good stuff back when I was a young man. Um, so number four here, it says schedule your workouts like you schedule your meetings. So make it, important, just as important as like a meeting for work or a meeting for, any kind of, other venture that you find a priority. So like kind of like what we talked about before.
Do you schedule your days out like whenever, like the night before you go to work? Do you kind of schedule, okay, I have this meeting in the morning, I have this and this to do, or I need like the goals for the next day, I have these things that I would like to accomplish at work? Is
Yeah.
that structured?
I'm a huge organizer. So like I've got like let me see where's if I can get it out. Like I've got stuff like this all over the place.
Yeah.
So, it's I write things down. I do believe that there's something to writing things down. I think I love the feeling of being able to physically like check something off or mark it out. So I feel more accomplished that way. So yeah, definitely like keep everything like exactly what I need to accomplish. Like this podcast was on the list, to take care of. So, but yeah, how about you?
Yeah, I have to because otherwise I feel like if I say if I have to work from home, if I don't give myself a scheduled list of things to do, then I'll see other tasks that I need to do and I'll get distracted and just do those, which it's productive, but it's like it's not what you needed to get done for the day. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
have to do that. I'm the same way in my cello playing. Like I schedule out, okay, like these are the concerts coming up. This is what I need to do. And so now what I've started doing is the night before or the morning of my workouts, I'll also write in, what we're training, today or what we're training
Mhm.
tomorrow. So that way I already have it in my mind that okay, this is what we're going to go to the gym for. This is the time frame that I have to go to the gym. This is how much time it's going to take me there. Because also on my different training days, there are days where I have more time. So obviously I can do bigger workouts on those days. So I also need to plan my schedule accordingly to how big the workout's going to be the next day.
Yeah, I mean it's important, it's one of those things that like people that tend to not write things down. I truly believe that it like it's they're deficient in some way, like in the sense what I mean their day is becomes deficient. They might not realize it because they don't write it down. They don't know what they could have accomplished in the time that they had, so but I bet you if they had it written down, they would see big gaps of time where they could have done things that they didn't do. So yeah, let me take a look here. What else is on here? So the next one is like doesn't really apply to you or me, but it probably applies to a lot of people. Sweat while your kids are sweating. So, and one of the things that they mentioned here is that like your child goes to a hockey game or whatever sporting event they might be involved in while they're practicing you do laps around whatever and or do some kind of exercise instead of just sitting there and watching them.
Or, I mean, like, and this is not to assume, and this is not to say that I know a single thing about parenting, but I was always a really active kid. And the thing that made being active fun was that, like, my mom or my dad would be active with me. So even if it's not like at a hockey training, like, even if you're just like, oh, let's go play soccer together, or my dad
Mhm.
and I would play basketball. And so doing that, like, I really like that idea, especially for people who are busy. It's like you could take 30 minutes and, get to, spend quality time with your kid. You're accomplishing that, and then you're also getting the physical activity, releasing endorphins, creating serotonin, so you and your kids do feel more bonded that way as well. So
Sure.
I like that point.
Yeah, yeah, and you like sounds like you got some personal experience in that too, like with your dad. So at some point we'll have him on as well.
Oh,
So.
yeah, he would love to talk about things. He would
The
be
number 6 is get up even earlier, which we kind of talked about. We didn't like specify it, but somewhere I read where truly successful people like always wake up early. And the guy that I was listening to mentioned that you might think like there's people that say, oh well, I do better in the evenings. It's not really true. Like they think they do, but really people that wake up early tend to accomplish more and seem to be like more efficient. So, I mean, again, like with me, when I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, like initially it wasn't pleasant, but once you get into a routine, like it just becomes a part of you. You don't really even notice it. There's that kind of the same feel that you got from waking up early.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and like my question is, as far as waking up early, is like, what was your motivator? Or did you ever think of anything when you were waking up and there were days and you're like, man, I really don't want to do this. Like, what kicked your butt out of bed to do that?
What kicked my butt? That's actually a good question. I don't like I didn't have some revelation or anything like that. It's more the fear of not not training that day. So it's like if I don't get up now, I'm not gonna go after work. So it's like either I do it now or it doesn't get done, and I don't want it not to, like I don't want it to cascade, like we talked about earlier. So how about you?
For me, well, I used to love waking up early just because I really love when it's quiet. Like, no one's really up, no one's texting you. You can kind of just enjoy the time for yourself and take a moment. Like, I don't know, this kind of probably really cheesy, but there's always that night, like Christmas Eve, where it's quiet and there's like the lights and it's just really peaceful.
Hmm.
That's what I've always really enjoyed. Now that we've sprung forward, I love that it's still a little bit dark, like the sun's not crazy bright in your eyes and forcing you to get up, but you can just be really peaceful in getting up. So I really appreciate those moments. But also, I was listening to a podcast, and I believe it's with Jay Shetty, and he says people who wake up at 5 a.m., they technically get at least an hour or two more in their days to do things and more productive. And over the course of a year, you're adding an entire extra 30 days into your schedule, technically.
Right.
So you're adding an entire extra month of more productivity. And then there was another quote. He's actually a big sales guy. His name is Grant Cardone. I'm sure you've probably seen him online, but he has this mantra of beat the sun up. So he always wakes up at like 4:30, 5 a.m. So he beats the sun up so that way he can get more things done in a day, technically.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I loved like going to the gym when it was early in the morning when it's dark. Like for some reason, I always like thought that was kind of like cool to show up there where it's like kind of that, not pitch black, but sort of kind of dim.
Bluish.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of cool. But anyways, that's just me being weird.
No.
Yeah. So the other one is 7 is join the most convenient gym possible, which I think is very important.
Yeah. Which gym do you go to?
So I go to a local gym called Nashville Athletic Club because I live in Nashville, Tennessee. It's literally an exit away from me. They have 3 locations around the city, so it's really convenient for me to go to. There's been times where I just wanted to change things up, like let me go to a different gym, let me see what's up, and then I always keep coming back to that gym because it's just so convenient for me. How about you?
There is a Planet Fitness literally less like than 2 minutes away from me. It's right across the street from my apartment complex. And I mean, people give Planet Fitness a hard time, but for me, it has weights, it has Smith machines, it has a Master, and it's super convenient. It's $23 a month. So it's budget friendly. And like you said, it's literally right there. Like right now, my car's in the shop. So after this, I'm literally going to just run over there. And that's so nice that I can do that.
Nice. So you'll get your cardio in before you even hit the gym. Nice. So, yeah, and the other thing about that is that sometimes it might not necessarily be next to your home. Like if you work or you go to school, you might want to think about a gym that's closer to there if it's better for you to work out after, after or before, that those sessions. So, number 8 is make it a date. So they're basically comparing it like, two people that are romantically involved make plans to have a date. You should be making a plan to date the gym, basically. So
Yeah, I
it's
love that because like people talk about self-care so much, and that's one thing that like, how are you going to show up for other people, whether it's at work, whether it's a romantic relationship or friendship, if you're not taking care of yourself and your body. So I like that it's like make it a date because it's a self-care date. Like that's what you're
yeah,
doing. You're literally
yeah,
taking care of
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. And you wouldn't want to stand up. Your day wouldn't be a good idea. So it was same thing here. It's like everything with all power, that you have is possible. You try to get in there. The other number 9, and this is the last one. It says master your mindset. So the what it brings out the under that title, what it brings out is to make the training enjoyable, and that way, if you make it enjoyable, you're going to be more, apt to go and train. You have any thoughts on that?
Um, well, yeah, of course, and I also I agree, but to a certain extent, I also disagree because I feel like part of it is if you're always only doing the things you like in the gym, like I think that's a good way to get started for sure.
Hmm.
But if you're always doing things you like, you can plateau that way. So I do like the premise behind it, but also for me, I love the gym. I love training because I'm constantly like not constantly, but now in my training with my trainer, every 2 to 3 weeks we're switching things up, and it's pushing me to get outside of my comfort zone. And I feel like people, whenever they do get comfortable in the gym that way, it'll give them more confidence too because they're getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the way I took it wasn't like you just do whatever is fun. The way I took it is like you enjoy training. So for me, like training is not easy. Like I try to make sure that it's not easy. If it's too easy, then that's a problem because that means that I'm probably not getting what I want out of it. So, but I still enjoy like I enjoy being sore. I enjoy leaving the gym beat up. So technically, so it's something that like the if I leave the gym and I feel like too good, then if that if you understand where I'm coming from, then it's not it feels like a wasted session. So I definitely agree with you on that. um I mean, that's the 9 points that they had. Did you have anything else like outside of what we just discussed that you think people might want to know? I mean, I know we kind of thoroughly covered the subject, but
Um, I just want to ask you like when do you meal prep? Because I know people meal prep differently.
mhm.
Do you just pick a day, or do you wake up early enough to where you can put things together, or what do you do?
So generally meal prep one day a week. So like I'll meal prep. The food only lasts so long. So like it'll last for whatever 4 days, 5 days, depending on what you have in it. You don't want to eat bad food, then you get sick. So prep like Sunday usually, and I'll eat that food up to whatever Thursday or whatnot, and then I might have a cheat day the next day, and then I'll have to I'll have to get some small prep situation for the last few days until Sunday, and then I'll prep again on Sunday for the majority of the week. So, what about you?
I usually do the same. What I was doing at the beginning of the semester was I was waking up super early to make it fresh, but I was getting really tired by the end of like doing that for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I'll
Hmm.
pick one day, and I'll have everything going at once. Like I'll have the stove going, I'll have the like all of the oven rack full, and that was the other thing I was gonna ask you. Like, how long does your meal prep usually take you?
I mean, it could be a couple of hours. I mean, it depends. It depends what I'm making, but if I'm making a large amount, of stuff like especially like chicken and this and that, like now, given I'm not working on the food the entire time, I mean, if it's in the oven, the oven's cooking it. I'm not, heating it up with my hands or nothing. I'm not creating a fire, but from the beginning to the end, it's usually like a couple of hours. Um, but maybe I'm thinking, maybe once you become a very famous cellist and you make tons and tons of money, then you can hire a personal chef and then they can make fresh food for you every day.
That would be that's the dream, isn't it? I kind of like cooking though. And then the other question I had for you is like, when you start getting really serious about training, like before you got serious, did you have any bad habits that when you started to train that you kind of had to cut out to make time for the gym?
Bad habits to cut out. That's a good
Yeah, like
question.
wasting.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, yeah, I mean, for some reason, bad habits. My mind went to the most extreme bad habits you could possibly have. But no, I mean, even things like just spending too much time, like watching TV, playing video games. I used to love playing video games, but I'm like, I gotta get away from this. I can't. What am I doing? I'm getting older. Like now I'm barely, barely have time to do any of that. But at the time when I first started, like, it was a large chunk of my life, and slowly it just kind of, withered away. And I don't think it's a negative. I view it as a positive because, I mean, video games are fun, but in the grand scheme of things, or watching TV, whatever you want to entertain, it's fun, but it isn't really like infuse like much substance into your life, and I believe the gym does do that, like training does do that, so
Yeah. And what
uh,
time do you like usually go to bed, and how much sleep do you try to get, since you're definitely a more muscular person, so you have to give your body adequate time to heal itself. So what's the least amount of sleep you're willing to get for yourself?
I mean, so here's the problem. So sleep is an ongoing like issue for me. That's the one thing that I was gonna mention while when we were talking about waking up early. Like waking up early is great, but only if you get enough sleep. And for me, like I deal with insomnia, so sometimes I don't sleep well, and it's a problem. But ideally, you would want to get like no less than 6 hours. I mean, that would be like bare minimum. On a good day. I mean, of course, you'd want like 7 or 8, but that's almost impossible for me. I tend to not sleep that well. It's all this uh, COVID-19 stuff on my mind. That's
Yeah, I
we
know.
can talk about that another time. But pretty soon we'll be discussing like how to train at home because all the gyms might be closed.
I don't even want to think about it. Like everyone's like, oh, my school just shut down, so I was like, man. And then I start googling like gyms closing down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, hey, everything's closing down. Look, they just canceled trips to Europe yesterday for 30 days and then all kinds of stuff. But that could be a totally different subject matter. We could go on for that for like another 30, 40 minutes. So, but anyways, what about you? Like, are you good as far as sleep is concerned? It's pretty easy for you to sleep?
Yeah, it just depends on, what's happening at home, but I don't let myself get less than 7 hours of sleep. Like when I was in my undergrad, I was getting maybe 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I was exhausted, mentally exhausted, just drained. But now, and I think that's honestly one thing that's kept me the most healthy, is not compromising my sleep. Like in my undergrad, I would get sick like 6 to 8 times in a semester. Like I was awful. I'd show up to school that way, which is obviously super disrespectful to other people.
Hmm.
Now, last semester, I got sick maybe twice, and it's because I live in a building where people literally like clean out their spit valves, so there's spit everywhere. And it was also closer to the end of the semester when it started getting cold, and I'm just
Hmm.
not used to the cold weather. But I really attribute my health to just
Hmm.
compromising on sleep.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is so important, and like I could tell the difference extremely. Like if I don't get enough sleep, I am such a like physically different person. It's I feel bad. I feel groggy, almost like a type of a hangover of some sort. And then, but when I get a good night's sleep, man, I can. I mean, right up, as soon as I wake up, I'm good to go.
Go like literally all day.
Yeah. So, anyways, but this was a great little chat. I'm sure people will enjoy it. You say you're going to be running to the gym, sprinting all the way. No, no.
Not sprinting, but do a light jog down the street to my gym.
So how many miles is that? Like, what are you thinking?
It maybe like it's like 0.3.
Oh,
It's not far at all.
okay. So you can speed walk it, really.
Just have the little arms.
You should get the sticks. You ever seen people with the sticks?
No,
That's-
I haven't.
Yeah, there's like these little sticks that people. Oh, sorry. These sticks that people use when they walk with. They look like it's basically looks like skiing without snow or skis or anything else but sticks. So yeah, but anyways, all right. Well, hey, it was good seeing you. Thanks again for taking the time to come on the show. And this is our regular thing. So hopefully we'll be putting out something else pretty soon. And you guys stay tuned.
All right. Thanks.
Take care.